evening and welcome to Virginia's Views and Vibes. I'm your host, Ginny Gardner. This evening, my guest is Nancy Garber, old friend. She's a spirit medium, master's in MED, counseling and psychology. Nancy's spirit medium experiences and demonstrations have taken her to London, England, where she also taped a show for Japanese television, Tokyo Super Morning Show, seen by millions of Japanese viewers. Most recently, she's selected top personality by Fox Television News, voted best of Boston and Boston Magazine. Welcome, Nancy.
Thank you.
How have you been?
I'm fine. Those were actually a few years ago, but they're still relevant. Everyone still looks them up. So.
Well, in between was COVID. But what have you been up to?
Well, doing my thing from the house mostly. You know, the one thing I did, I always knew how to do readings on the phone because I have clients all over the States and overseas, but I primarily had to focus on that. And it wasn't always my favorite thing. I like to meet people and do them in person, but I got so used to being in my sweats at home. I do most of my readings. I do groups in person. If people really want me, I'll show up. But, you know, mostly I'm just doing phone readings, and I've been really busy. I did, for the Dedham Public Library, I did a talk. We had over 160 people standing room only. And I also was up in Waltham at Temple Bistro, and they sold out. Or they were supposed to be one show. We got two shows because all the people wanted it. So, yeah, I mean, that's all within the past year.
Wow. Are you still traveling at all to England? Or because you studied there?
I actually, lots of different places. I've been to some of the countries that are kind of a little less traveled. So, and now I'm going blank. I have been, I've taken some cruises as well.
Good for you.
And I did see Turkey, and I've also, why am I going blank? It's not Romania.
You cruised Turkey.
Budapest, Hungary, and also Prague, and some of the less known places in those countries as well. So,
did you pick up any vibes when you went to Turkey or Prague?
I wasn't there very long, and honestly, I just didn't want to get lost from our tour guide. And we had a certain time to be back, and the traffic was horrendous, but I did get a really nice bracelet there, so that I'm afraid to wear half the time. But anyway, I'm going to start wearing it because now I'm going out and doing things. And,
So you've kind of taken on a new project with more of a history-related Lexington and Concord and some of the local history here in Massachusetts.
I don't know if it would actually be, I'd love it to be a project, but I'm not a historian. I did have my minor in history, but I just really started getting interested in going to reenactments, and I always was into the Revolutionary War anyway, especially as it relates to Massachusetts and Boston specifically, well, Concord and Lexington. And obviously it's Bunker Hill, so it's not exactly Boston, but close enough. And I learned some really interesting facts. I wasn't even going to bring this up, but I live in West Roxbury, and I didn't realize that all these famous people from the past, Adams and all these people, actually marched towards Bunker Hill. They walked. They were marching from Dedham. They went up Center Street in West Roxbury, and they actually met. There's still a stone at the corner of the Faulkner Hospital where it says X amount of miles to Boston.
Really?
And there was a meeting place, and there were some British soldiers who had a pub in that area, a tavern. And I just started reading and got really interested. And I figured I actually can put the two together about the history and mediumship. So, and as I said, this is fairly new for me. But the other day, I've just been going to a lot of lectures, and they had him at the Old South Meeting House down near Milk Street. They've had a few talks because this is actually the 250th anniversary of the Boston Tea Party. And what they did is they met at the Old South Meeting House right before to discuss whether they should or they shouldn't. And anyway, the long and the short of it is, of course, they did. And the British then were so angry, they actually, and it was a church, the Old South Meeting House, they made it into their stables. But the foundation and the bricks are still there. And it was a really interesting. It was proactive. You could actually be part of taking stands, and we had little tablets, and we were able to. And unfortunately, I got assigned. I was on the conservative British side, and I had learned all this stuff for the Patriot side. But anyway. But it after a while, they let us kind of move around, and I actually got the group. Part of the group convinced them that we should have a Continental Congress, which is what it was in history, to decide what to do. But anyway, so I know I could keep talking, but so they were so annoyed, the British, after the Tea Party, because it sounds like it was just a few cases, but in actual fact, in today's money, it was worth $3 million.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So, and they decided that they were going to punish Boston and the surrounding areas, even though it was only a small portion of the population. And they came up with this thing that in England it was called the Coercive Acts. And you may have heard this term. I had to just make sure I go in order with my notes. But we called them the Intolerable Acts because they were pretty intolerable. And they got real heavy-handed with the city. There's so many things they did, but the couple of main ones, they closed the Port of Boston only for food, only. They said we couldn't have any more meetings. We could only meet once a year under supervision. And they also mandated that soldiers could stay in people's homes, and you had to put them up and pay for them.
That's true.
And anyway, and they said nothing would change until the people paid. So it really got to be an issue. Is it really over the taxes, or is it about control? And they find now it's really about control. So you've heard, then you must have heard all this. I was just
going to say, isn't it interesting how history can repeat itself?
I know.
Very interesting.
It's actually very scary. What did they say? If you don't learn, you're doomed to repeat history. I don't know.
True.
It's very scary.
But that is the one I do, of all of them, I do recall, because it sounds so outrageous, is a soldier, or you can complete strangers, you will have to put complete strangers in your home, feed them and clothe them and such. But so you did that. Did you at any of those times feel spirit?
Well, that's what I was just going to say, and I'm hopefully going to be having a really famous historian who's written books here in the future if he shows up. Yeah. And one of the things I did, before I got into this, I started going to, well, actually, I went to reenactments. My phone is full of pictures from the reenactments. So next year, so this year was the 250th anniversary of the Boston Tea Party, but next April is the 250th anniversary of the first shot at Concord and Lexington, and then it's the 250th anniversary of Bunker Hill. And Bunker Hill actually turns out that it was the bloodiest battle of the Revolutionary War. So many people were killed.
Wow.
Yeah, and a lot of British people were killed too. It was, and I didn't realize the war lasted 8 years. That's pretty crazy.
I didn't realize that either.
From 1775 to 1783. And
but they moved around. They
moved around, and one of the main,
south.
There's a few a couple of main losses, or actually more than that, but two big ones were there was one in New York where. Of course, I've forgotten the name of it, but see, I'm not a real historian. I'm just saying.
No, I think it's hard to remember all those facts.
But there was two of them. A Battle of Saratoga.
Yep.
And there were two of them, and there was so much loss of life. But on the second battle, the British couldn't get reinforcements, and so that was the first surrender, which caused then France to come in on the side of the Americans, which was majorly helpful because they gave. Training, sent over people for training, some soldiers, lots of money, and then eventually lots of ships, which actually caused the big battle where the British lost at Yorktown.
Yeah.
And they got the British ships barricaded in. Anyway, to make a long story short, that's pretty much the end of the war, but it took 2 more years for them to figure out the peace settlement. Yeah. So skirmishes still existed. Right. But anyway, so, I don't know, about before COVID, they should do BC as instead of.
No, good idea. I agree.
I just came up with it instead of it's before COVID.
Before COVID.
BC, yeah.
Life BC.
Oh wow, so weird. Anyway,
That is.
I was asked by Dedham TV to do a tour of, and they agreed, of the Colonial Inn in Concord to see where if I felt any spirit activity. And the thing is, what happened is they turned the Colonial Inn into a temporary hospital for the people, and that's where they're cutting the limbs, and everything was on the lawn, and there were piles, and really horrific things, because they obviously didn't have anesthetic, so they were just sawing legs and arms off, and anyway, not to be gross. So the place is pretty haunted, and especially.
So what time of day did you go there? So you went?
I went in the evening, before it got busy, and they let me go, and I kept saying, oh, this has energy, and they kept saying every place I got the energy is where they have had things happen.
Wow.
Some physical things happen.
Really? Such as things falling, things moving?
Yeah, doors like that are shut, unlock and open, things like that. I didn't really want to find out much. The only thing I do know, there's a room on the second floor, because people stay there. It's a hotel. It's still an inn. That some people want and request that room, other people don't want it because they've seen so much happen in that room. And I think, I can't be sure, but I know those rooms were probably where the people were ill, because I'm imagining that on the first floor is where they did the surgeries. But I don't know exactly. I try not to learn things before. I just want to be, see what I get.
And the message you get.
So, and so that led me, like I said, I've always been interested, but then recently I decided to go to some of the reenactments. So I really want to go next year for the 250th.
Oh, yeah.
And I have some friends that might come from England, so that should be interesting. We're on the other opposite sides. But what occurred to me is, because I know you've probably heard, even for the Civil War as well, you'll see manifestations on the battlefield. So my question is this, and that basically is what I call physical mediumship. Because
when you see it.
Yeah, everyone can see and sense it. You don't have to be a medium. That's the definition of physical mediumship. And I started thinking about it, and I don't know whether the people in spirit realize this is a reenactment, or is it bringing up bad memories, or is it, or do they still think the fighting is going on? It's hard to know. Because on the battlefield, people see this stuff all the time, these soldiers forming. And my question is it a time slip? Where suddenly we're
right, yes.
A time slip is where you're almost in a weird place and you don't know why? Or is it that they're forming because of many reasons? They can't seem to move on or whatever.
Wow. That's interesting.
And I don't have those answers.
Right.
But, and the thing is,
have you been there when they do that? Have you seen that yourself, or been there where you've heard, or what are they messaging you? Is spirit messaging you?
I've had a couple of very weird experiences.
Really?
I got a message, I don't know, I'm looking at the time, so hopefully I'm going to talk really fast. Because I want to talk about, mental mediumship is what I do, by bringing through people's relatives and friends that have passed on. So one time I was with my friend, we were in South Dakota.
I remember this.
Yeah, and she was in the bookstore. We kind of went off. After a while, we both need some time off from each other. So I was sitting on the trail, and I heard this name. I heard Molly, and then I heard my sister's Elizabeth, and I started getting all this information. And it was in a place that's actually over the line in Nebraska called Scotts Bluff. And you go up to the top, and it's where the wagon trains first realized that they had made it to the west because they saw their first mountains.
Oh my God.
And you can still see the wagon train marks on the trail. You can. They're like embedded. That's how many went through. And obviously the wagons were pretty substantial. So you can see all the, it was amazing to see the marks of the wheels, the wagon wheels. Anyway, I went back. My friend was in the bookstore, and I said, look, I got to ask you a question. I said, do you know anyone named Molly in spirit? Because I'm thinking it's a relative. Right. She goes, I don't know Molly. Oh, you got to know Molly. I heard Molly. She goes, I don't know Molly. I said, well, she has a sister, Elizabeth. And she went, I don't know anyone who's Elizabeth. And so I said, okay, whatever. So anyway, sorry, I got a little itch just for a
That's
second.
okay.
Anyway, these things are a nuisance.
They
anyway,
are, but you need to.
So anyway, so she just kept saying, I don't know who they are, don't bug me, you know. So all of a sudden, we're in the bookstore, and I heard her scream. Now, my friend is a computer person who has never screamed in her life. Very, like,
Yeah.
you know, business,
Straight line,
busy,
yeah.
yeah. And she said, you're not going to believe this. And she picked up this book.
No way.
And inside is Molly's diary of going across the same area on the wagon train.
way.
And Molly's sister was Elizabeth in the book. We both bought it. I haven't still read the whole thing.
Wow.
But my friend called me. She said, when she got home, she goes, did you read the end of the book? The very last chapter is called Molly Finds Out She's a Medium.
No way.
Yes, crazy,
Oh my
crazy.
God. Next time you come, you have to bring that book.
Okay,
Next time
yeah,
you come.
we could do
Etched
plenty.
in time. So you got that, oh my gosh, you got that vibe. Was there another time you were at a battlefield with another friend and
Yeah.
you could not get out of the car? You,
Oh, yeah,
you
well, that-
stayed in the car and said,
Yeah.
I couldn't get out.
See, that's all the Civil War stuff, and I've actually been told by Spirit to stay away from the Civil War places.
Really?
I wanted to go to Gettysburg. They said absolutely not. And my brother, who's not even a medium, my brother just hears things from time to time, heard don't go at the same time I did to
Really?
Gettysburg. So
Really?
I stay away.
So you're staying away.
And there's
I don't
tons
blame
of manifestations there. The one time, I was staying with a friend, and we were going to go to this place called Stones River, which was a very bloody battle during the Civil War.
Gosh.
And I was in this person's house. I was taking a nap when all of a sudden I woke up. I literally sat up in bed, and I could see a horse coming towards me, and I could feel the smoke on its face.
my
Not the
God.
smoke, but the steam.
Yeah.
And this
Oh my
guy
gosh.
said to me, he was from the South, I believed, and he said, my name is Colonel Matson. I'm under the command of General Bragg, and this is nothing for you to mess with. Well, I was really freaked out, so I called my friend the next day, another friend that I was going with. I said, I'm not going. And she said, oh, don't be ridiculous. I said, no. I told her the whole thing. I said about, you know, General Bragg, and it seemed really real. I could feel everything.
Oh, yeah.
And I remember his name was Matson, I don't know, but I did hear General Bragg. So she convinced me. I said, all right, maybe I was having a weird dream, but I knew it was Spirit.
Yeah.
And we got into they have one of those films to introduce in the beginning, the introduction, before you go. And all they said in the first sentence was, this entire area was under the command of General Bragg. And I screamed.
Oh my
And I said, I'm not going. I'm not. And so it was one of those where you ride to the different points.
Yeah.
I didn't get out. And I was so nervous. My friend had she had a lot of kids, little packs of peppermint patties.
I remember.
And I ate the entire thing. And I said, I'm sorry. I was so nervous. I'll buy you a pack when I get out of here. I wouldn't get out.
Do you say a prayer? Or I would right now. I would make the sign of the cross. I'm not kidding you. I kid you not. Do you say a prayer when this happens? Do you protect yourself?
Not usually.
Really?
But I'll tell you, the other place we went to, which is going to sound very similar to the Colonial Inn, is a place called Carton Mansion in Tennessee. And I went there with another medium. And same thing. There's still blood stains on the floor that they've removed, and the blood comes back. They don't even know why.
Oh my God.
Anyway, we were there. We didn't say anything to each other, but we got home, and a day later, after we flew home, she said, "Are you feeling anyone from that house with you?" I said, "Oh, I thought I was the only one." We both felt the person with us, but a day or two later, they disappeared, and I make a joke, but I chalk it up to, why do they want to hang around and watch QVC? You know, I think they have better things to do than QVC. So, you know, not that exciting.
Funny.
They left.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So they went back.
But it's not a bad idea, because
did you get a message from them, or did they just say a presence?
No, they were just sort of
there,
just
letting
there.
you know they're
I
there.
didn't ask. You know, the thing
Yeah.
is, I think if you ask, maybe it encourages people. But
Yeah.
in any case, yeah. So
Yeah.
it's something that I used to surround myself with white light when I
Yeah.
first started. But it's not a bad idea if I go back to these things.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
Even if you
anyway-
don't go back, I think it's always a good idea to surround yourself with light, especially when in your line of work.
I know. I mean, we have very little time left for mental mediumship. So
Yeah.
that's physical mediumship where manifestations happen. I'll just say one other thing. There's a lot in Tombstone, Arizona, too. And I used to do ghost tours outside of Tombstone in Bisbee, Arizona. And I did some actually in Tombstone as well. And I did have something weird happen, but it's a bit X-rated, so I'll have to share it with you after.
Let's go to mental mediumship then. That's probably good time.
All right, so the mental mediumship is what people are used to seeing me do.
Right.
So I bring through people's friends and relatives that have passed on, and I describe the person. I get, if I can, names, dates, shared memories, things you might have of theirs. They talk about what's going on in your life, and then you get to ask questions. And my readings in groups are so long because I believe in tons of evidence, so you have no question as to who's coming through from spirit.
That's true.
And I know you've had a bunch of, and I swear, Ginny, maybe it's because your mom's used to talking to me, but I saw the scarves, and I don't know if you want to say what happened. And is there something with pearl necklace as well?
I actually have one of her pearl necklaces, and I have well, we gave some away to
Did you restring something, or? I don't know, but one of the things I got in the car, I was just driving, and I'm not real tuned in, to be honest, because I know this is going to take so long. They showed me a wedding ring, and I don't know, a diamond ring or a wedding ring, and I don't know if something significant has happened to it recently, if someone, if you needed a stone fixed in it, or whether it was given to some, I don't know what the deal is.
Actually, I have her wedding band, and her wedding band is all diamonds.
Oh, okay, I saw the diamonds.
I finally had it appraised and insured because it's
I knew something had happened to it recently.
It was just recently.
Yeah,
it was just recently.
Because she said, tell her that I know that she was around when you were doing something with her wedding ring. Yeah. Wow. So just to say, to add that. And I mean, I don't remember the specifics, but I did say that she had scarves. That's the one thing. And there's so many of them.
She had hundreds.
This is going to sound really stupid. Maybe you'll have to ask someone in the family, but did someone either have trouble with a toaster or did the toast burn recently?
Me. I burned the toast. I own up to it.
Okay.
It was just last week, yes.
Yeah, it was like really.
And I never do that. I don't, but I did that
She was around, obviously.
And I scraped it off. I did the old-fashioned.
Yeah, I tried to eat
it. Down
I think it was pretty bad, yeah.
And I scraped it off, and I said, oh, God, that hasn't happened. What am I doing? You know, and then you stand there and say, what am I doing? Just throw the toast out. That's funny.
So
the two things, the ring especially, was just recently.
Yeah, that's what she said. Wow. And she showed it to me almost all the way here, and of course I'm only 10 minutes away. Yeah. But, you know, it's they'd like to show that they're still part of your life and that they're still around. Yeah. And I know in my house, in particular, my clock changes. Whenever I feel there's someone there, I mean really feel them for a period of time, not just, you know, 2 minutes. It's happened at least, I don't know, 6 to 8 times. The clock goes forward and the clock goes backwards on its own. Yeah, we just go, what the heck? And it's not during when, it's a clock that's plugged in the wall. So this is like, can't happen. And
it's strange that I chose this. I looked for this, not anything in particular. I saw this and I said, this needs to come out, the clock. So that's kind of
well, if the hands stop moving on their own,
really?
We might all run out of the room and out of the building. But anyway, no.
That's interesting.
I find it comforting. And one time, we have this funny banister. And it's when sometimes my dad used to try to walk up the banister and it used to clang. And the other day, along with about the same time that happened as well, but I have a feeling there might have been a couple of people there. My brother and I were, he was in his room watching TV. We're in different parts of the house, and we heard it. We both said, what's it? It was like bang, 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 up the stairs. It was moving. So we knew that someone was there. But I just say, oh, hi, Dad. I think it's Dad. Hi. You know, it doesn't bother me.
I smelled, I think it was my grandmother's perfume one day.
That's what I said to you once, I think.
Yeah, I could smell her. It was very distinct. I don't even know what she wore. I never, it was, I mean, my grandmother would have been 125.
Yeah,
or actually more than that now. And one day I smelled her perfume and I said, this is so strange. So
I don't know. Like I said, I don't, they're showing me the flower. I don't know if anyone, see, this is the thing when you get a symbol. And I'm not, like I said, overly tuned in because I was rushing here in the traffic. But is anyone's name Rose, or is there something with flowers or roses that was significant with? I know that's very generic. But
I had an aunt. My father's sister was Rose.
okay, I thought it was a person, but I also think someone liked flowers as well, which is very general.
My husband brought me flowers, roses, Mother's Day.
All right, well, I don't know if that's it, but I felt it was the name. But before, I know we only have about 2-3 minutes left.
About 5, yeah.
So I just want to say, it's not scary when people have readings. I mean, people say, is it frightening? I go, well, I can't account for your relatives. If they were frightening, it's not my fault. So they come in pretty much the same way, and it's really like having a big family reunion when you have, you know, when there's time to have everyone come in. But very quickly, if you can think of who this is, you can always tell me later.
Oh, yeah.
But I did get a man that was older who lost weight before he passed, and he had a lot of issues with his lungs. And I feel as if he may have had it was either lung cancer or emphysema, COPD, I don't know. And I don't know if this is connected to your husband, George, but I could hear him coughing, I still can.
Wow.
Do you know what this might be?
Actually, you described my father.
Oh, your dad, okay.
And George was his favorite son-in-law. I can say that, his favorite son-in-law, and we have 4 minutes. George was his favorite son-in-law.
So did he have emphysema, or did he have
my father,
lung COPD or something?
He actually worked in the Navy Yard when he came back from the service. It was asbestos.
Yeah.
And he had part of his lung removed, and then
oh, that's it then. That's kind of what I got.
He coughed from the time I was 13 till he passed when I was 15.
When I was driving here, I heard him coughing.
Coughs.
And he doesn't mean he still has that. It's just part of the evidence, you know?
He did,
but
he did.
I just heard I'm sorry, this sounds so generic. You know my stuff is not. It's very specific, and I get lots of names. But because I have about a minute left, he just wanted to hug you, and he just said he loves you. And I feel like you helped the family a lot. Of all the siblings, I feel like you did try to help out when everyone needed anything.
My daughter is in the control room. Becca, you may have to answer that. Yes.
And is there like oh God, I don't know what this is. It's like it's either silver or a box of some kind, and it has velvet inside. And I think it might be red velvet. I'm not positive, but it's velvet. And there's either keepsakes are kept inside or something. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I do.
What is it?
Again, my husband and I have known each other since we were 13, and one of the things
Was it heart-shaped?
It's not heart-shaped, no.
Okay.
But who knows?
I don't know. It's sort of roundish. I don't know. Or is it just a box?
It's a mahogany box. And when one day, I don't know where, we must have been walking home from school and found it. And I said, oh, my grandfather refinishes everything. So at 14 years old, I think it was, we refinished this box. I still have it, and it's lined.
Is it velvet inside or velvet?
It's lined with velvet. I can't. I'm thinking.
I was
it's
between
green.
red and blue. I couldn't. Oh, that would make green. Okay,
Red
I
and
don't
blue.
know.
I'm thinking it's green, but honestly, I haven't looked at it. Really looked at it.
And I know we're
time.
running out, but I want you to think about a silver box that has. You know when it's bumpy on top because there's a design. It's what do they call it?
Like a jewelry box or a keepsake box?
It could be a keepsake, but you know how the end of a silverware, it's ornate, and I feel like whether it's real silver or not, I feel like there's something on the top, and if you could just ask in the family.
Yeah, I will.
You know, because I am seeing that.
Isn't it funny?
And many times I've done shows where, you know, people say I don't know, and then they call me back the next day, oh, we found it. I mean, it happens in readings, never mind where people check with the older people in the family, go, of course that name exists, and of course that's there. And then people are really blown away because it shows that I'm not picking up anything psychic. If they don't know about it, but other people do, names,
and right
they
now,
exist.
I guess
It's from spirit.
I'm sort of like very overwhelmed, and I'm seeing wrap up, and there's so much going on, but do not be afraid. Nancy's great, and I've never been afraid. I love getting the message, and this one today is, without going into detail, perfectly timed. So thank you, Nancy.